And do you find your seats so we can begin? Please find your seats.
Hello. I have a poem written for you guys today. The title is Israel, We Cry. Boom, boom, go off the rockets. Children crying, crying for their mothers. Terror reigns, people in pain. The Jewish nation, for peace they aim. Our hearts ache, we cry so much too. But through these tough times, remember, we are Jews. We can help, we can fight. Through the darkness, our nation unites. So as we gather here today, remember your nation will never fade away.
Please rise.
So Beloved congregational family and friends of Parkey Synagogue, parents of these children who are giving us chizuk, strength and hope at a devastating time for Israel and the Jewish people. So we say, all of us say, Shema Kolenu. God, hear our prayers. Hear our prayers. Protect and save Medinat Israel. Am Yisrael. Yes, and all humanity threatened by the beasts of our time, savages who have no use for anyone but achieving their destructive goals. As a Holocaust survivor, I never thought that I would see the beasts reappear as I've experienced them then. But we are united. Am Yisrael, v'guf echad. And we say, and I'm glad to see the Israeli Consul representative and Malcolm Hunline, who just came back after seeing those horrible slaughter victims. We say, Hashem, guard, protect, shield Medinat Yisrael, Am Yisrael, and humanity, all humanity. Now, I believe that each one of us has an assignment. You can't just depend on God. What about the sacrifices, men and women, who are standing there of the IDF, the entire united Jewish community standing as one? And we say to our brothers and sisters, if you're in pain, we're in pain. If you suffer, we're suffering. So, each one of us, particularly as members of the largest Jewish community in the world, each one of us have an assignment to do. Solidarity, solidarity, solidarity. And united we will prevail. We will. Second, our major concern now should be, in addition, security for Israel. The kidnapped hostages. The greatest mitzvah is Pidyon Shuim, release of hostages. And we are trying, we're doing it. Second, I want you to actually applaud the President of the United States and say, God bless America for standing. I will make sure that everyone will get a most passionate stand against evil by the President of the United States, and we thank Congress and all leaders, including mayor, governor, whom we were in contact with all along, for guarding us in terms of security, because you and I are being jeopardized right here in New York City and in the United States. And finally, our greatest strength and hope are the children, your children, your children. And why do I say this? You heard them sing the Hatikva with conviction, with commitment. That is the resilience of Am Yisrael. Tikva, tikva, hope. Hope, courage. And Hitler would have never seen children and grandchildren of Holocaust survivors alive. We live to see it. So don't give up hope. Don't give up hope, because we will emerge, yes, with pain, with scars, with suffering, but we will emerge because Am Yisrael Chai, that is the bond between God and His people. And finally, the prayer we offer every day. Adonai oz le'amo yiten, Adonai yavarech et amo b'shalom. God, give strength to your people. Strength to your people. And if we are strong and united, we will prevail and we will emerge, because we are destined not only to serve the Jewish people, but to be an or lagoyim, a light unto the nations of the world. And no terrorist Hamas, no beast in our midst will obliterate men and women, all of us here, who are committed to preserve life, l'chaim. Yes. So God bless you all, and together, tikva, chizuk, and eventually shalom, not only for the Jewish people, Middle East, all of humanity. We're in one world together, and we will win. God bless you all. Let's say Baruch haba to welcome Allah.
That's the best introduction I've ever had. A kiss with the rabbi. Rebbitzin, I hope you don't get jealous, but it's okay. Don't worry, it gets louder. So I came back late this morning from Israel. And 36 hours ago, I was in Sderot, and I was in Be'eri. And I know there are a lot of children, so I'm going to be very careful with what I say. And I hope you will read between the lines of what I am saying, because there are no words to describe what I saw and what I experienced. I've been in many difficult circumstances in Russia, in Arab countries. I've seen the suffering in previous wars, but nothing compares to it except what I read about the Shoah. I have always spoken against comparisons to the events of the 1930s and 40s. They are unique. But I have to tell you that what I saw certainly smelled and looked and sounded like it. I went to visit soldiers in Hadassah Hospital. And while I was there, the soldiers, 3 of whose families I knew well, 1 from Canada, 2 from the United States, all who'd been members of the Nachal group, which was largely destroyed. And they only wanted to get better to be able to go back to the front. And one of them said to me, "You have to go and see for yourself." I said, "Look, I don't think it's a good idea." He said, No, you have to. Not for you, but that you can be able to bear witness and tell the people what you saw." Many years ago, I was visiting with Ronald Reagan during the Bitburg controversy. And he called me aside into the Oval Office and he said, "I want to tell you something I've never told anybody. I committed a crime." I said, "Are you sure you want to tell me this?" And he said in 1945, I think it was, that he left the army. He was in a film unit. And he said, "I stole a film and I took it home with me." It was a film of the concentration camps. Because he said, "I believed that the day would come when people would deny that this happened. And I wanted at least that my grandchildren will give testimony because they will have seen it." I thought about it as this soldier was pressing me, that if you don't see it, you can't testify to it. And so after I left Hadassah, I went straight down to Sderot. And on the highway, I saw car after car, windshields blown out, bloody doors, bullet holes, because the terrorists drove down on motorcycles and just shot everybody. And then I went to Be'eri, which is this bucolic, beautiful community of 1,000, mostly farmers who hired people from Gaza, many of them of the left who were active in the peace movement. On Simchas Torah morning, on a Shabbat morning, Their lives were changed, as was the whole state of Israel, forever. But I think also for this generation and the next generation of Jews, it's changed forever. No one can describe the depravity, the inhumanity, the barbarism that I saw. You've heard some of the stories about what was discovered, but when I saw the trucks, the refrigerated trucks with 70 bodies, 90 bodies, 50 bodies, they had the chewing gum truck because they didn't have enough refrigerated trucks to bring them back. And I went into the community and saw how they raided each and every house, setting fire to many of them in order to force the people out, and then they took care of them. And as I said, I don't want to give the description here tonight. There will be other opportunities for people to really understand the depravity of what we are facing. You know, the Nazis hid their crimes. These guys advertised them. They put things on the internet to scare you. We will not be scared. We're not going to be deterred. As I drove down with the car towards Sderot, we passed one army base, a second army base, a third army base. And the whole highway on the side was filled with cars for a mile and a half, one after another. Because it was soldiers who came from Miluim who were called up, and they just got in their cars and drove there and left their cars on the side of the road to be there. Over 300,000. I went to visit two of the bases of the soldiers, and their only concern was if I was comfortable, giving me a helmet, making sure that I was safe. And when you see the heroism of the young men and women, you understand that's the answer to the evil that we have to eradicate. Uvi'arta hara mikirbecha, that we're commanded to take out the evil from our midst. This is pure, unadulterated evil. There's no compromise with it. There's no negotiations. All of these ambassadors who tell us, talk to them, de-escalate, both sides. I had this exchange yesterday with the ambassador of Turkey. And he's telling us how we have to be moderate and we have to use our influence to de-escalate. I said, the next time the PKK attacks Turkey, we'll advise you to de-escalate and to stop it. I hope you all know there are no settlements in Gaza. So when they tell us illegal settlements are the reason, or because Jews are living in their homeland, there are no settlements. There's not a single Jew left in Gaza. They were all removed. There's no military presence in Gaza. It was all removed, and at a very heavy price. But in the interest of peace, to give them a state, to show them what could be done, Sharon made the decision. And it wasn't an easy one for him. I talked to him about it before and after. And it wasn't an easy decision for the others. But they wanted to give peace a chance, just as we negotiated 10 times in the last 100 years. Every time the Jews said yes, every time the other side said no. These guys are saying no to us again, but they're saying it in the most outrageous way. We should draw inspiration from the heroes of the Jewish people, those young men and women who responded to the call. You know, we are commanded to destroy Amalek. The Amalek comes up in every generation. Haman was a grandson of Amalek, and why did he think that the Jewish people then would be more vulnerable than when his grandfather? As it tells us in the Megillah, he said that we were an am mufuzar umufurad, that we were a divided people, we were separated, we were not united, and therefore he thought we were vulnerable. They looked at the demonstrations and all of the manifestations and the public comments and said, look at them, they're divided, they can't get their act together, they are against one another. Therefore, they will be vulnerable. if you would see the achdut, the unity that I saw demonstrated, where Hasidim coming down with truckloads of food for the soldiers, where people were coming and bringing underwear, everything, emptying their homes to bring it down to the soldiers, many of whom had to leave everything behind and just rush to the base. Amalek struck because we were weak and tired. So they thought we were weak and divided and tired. But it comes to the survival of the Jewish state, we will never be tired. We will never be weak. We have the unity of the Jewish people worldwide, as we've seen today, demonstrations from Buenos Aires to Boston, across the whole world. Huge crowds turning out, Jews and non-Jews alike. I was at a press conference today with Senator Gillibrand and black leaders, other leaders, all came together to express their solidarity with Israel. This despite the distorted media coverage, the lies, the distortions, and misrepresentations that mischaracterize what has happened and what Israel has done. When Jacob gathered his sons to bless them, as we will read in the Sefer Bereshit soon, it says, Hey osvu v'kapsu. Hey osvu, he gathered them. But that wasn't enough for them to be in the same place, in proximity with one another. The kapsu, that they had to be united, they had to come together like a kibbutz, where you share values, you share your fate, you share your future. It was only then that he said, now I can give you the blessings. So we can come together many times in the same place, but it's time when we have to be the kapsu, because the one precondition to every miracle that happened to the Jewish people throughout our history, only one precondition that God set, and that was achdut, the unity of the Jewish people. That when we stood at Mount Sinai, ki ish echad b'lev echad, as one people with one heart, he said, now you're ready to get to Torah. The rescue of Russian Jews and Ethiopian Jews and Syrian Jews and Yemeni Jews and Iraqi Jews and Iranian Jews had one precondition. Because you stood outside and demonstrated. For people you didn't know, you didn't speak the same language, you're not related to them. The rest of the world said, oh, it's a conspiracy, it has to be. Why is it that we don't care about our co-religionists? We don't demonstrate and go out in the winter, in the summer, in the heat, in the snow, and march and demonstrate. Because that's the bond between us. The achdut, the unity. And achdut has the word echad. That we have to be one. That today when we face this existential danger, because this is not a war about settlements, about rights, it's not militants, it's a war of extinction. There's only one goal. That is to wipe out the Jewish people. It's a war against the Jewish faith, the Jewish state, the Jewish people, the Jewish nation, against the Jewish future, and even the Jewish past they try to erase. And it finds its root in Iran. So when you see us demonstrate and why we campaign against the Iranian nuclear program, because we believe what Khamenei says, because what he says, he means, and he's going to seek the means to do it. They were behind this event, both there and with Hezbollah. They provided hundreds of thousands of missiles. They provided the technology. They provided the guidance. So we have to go to the source of evil also and wipe it out. But we can only do it if we are a united people. When you see the troops who came together for Miluim, for the call-up to serve, you see every stripe of Jew, every kind, payas, shorts, everything. They come together because we have a common purpose of survival, of the vitality, the vibrancy of the Jewish state and the Jewish people. This is a time when they are tested, but so are we. The media says to us, oh, but look in Gaza, they don't have shelters. Why don't they have shelters? Because they spent billions of dollars building tunnels of terror to bring terrorists into Israel. Why didn't they take that concrete and build shelters? Why didn't they take water desalination plant that Israel had offered them a long time ago? Why do they have to worry now that because Israel shuts it off? Israel should supply the enemy now with the wherewithal to continue to fight and to stand against us? Why don't they go to Egypt and say the same thing, which has openings and crossings into Gaza? The lies will not change the facts. And we stand together because Israel is right. Israel acts in the most humane way. It is the most moral army in the world. They risk their lives not to shoot children who are wrapped in suicide belts. What other army in the world would do it? And you see the lies and distortions and misrepresentations already. Now they're saying, well, both sides lost 2,000 people. No, they didn't. 1,200 people were murdered, and I'm telling you the number is much greater. The others was because the enemy puts civilians at danger because they use them as human shields. Israel fights to protect citizens. They put citizens in danger to protect themselves. Why is their leadership sitting in Qatar and not in Gaza? So we can stand firmly, proudly with the state of Israel, the people of Israel, the army of Israel, the Navy of Israel, the Air Force of Israel, who are protecting your future and mine, not just theirs. Because this is a war about our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren's security. Because if they succeed there, believe me, they're not going to stop there. As long as we exist and the values we have, the principles we have, it's a war against democracy and Western values. Israel is the entity that represents it. They don't hate Israel, America, because of Israel. They hate Israel because of America. So all of us at this very critical time have to rethink what it is that we are doing. Are we doing enough? Are we showing our appreciation that God gave us back the Jewish state, this miraculous place, high-tech, military power, everything? And nobody would have dared believe that more than half of the Jewish people live there. Their birth rate is the highest in the industrialized countries. That's a statement of confidence when the average birth rate is 3.2 in secular families. And I pointed out to them, and they don't even realize it. It's a statement about the future. And Israelis are designated the 11th happiest people in the world. Who would have believed that? Because it is a miracle. They understand it. They appreciate it. They fight for it. They live for it. And they will celebrate it again. So our job is to stand with them, to be with them, to support them, not to waver, not to listen to the lies and those who are trying to undermine the confidence. And one day after this is over, we will hold to account those who started writing articles about cutting military aid and cutting this and cut that, and Israel has to be put in the docket. Jews who came in front of platforms of the Jewish community. No more. It's time for us to hold them to account as well. Because when you undermine the unity and security of the Jewish people, you undermine our future. This is a time when we stand together. We look at the children and say, we promise you, you will be safe, secure, you will be able to celebrate in Israel, you will go there for your gap year, you will go there on birthright trips, you will go there for your bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs, you will be able to get married there, and you will be able to join in the celebration of a Jewish state, vibrant, a model to the world, if we all stand together.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ellie Kohanim. I'm a very proud Park East mom, a proud member of this synagogue, and former U.S. Deputy Envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism. And I didn't realize there would be kids in the audience tonight, so I'm going to perhaps try to change a bit what I was going to mention. I think all of us right now are in a state of difficult hours, difficult weekend leading into the beginning of this week. We have seen, most of us, on social media what Hamas chose to document themselves, which is the atrocities that they committed against the Jewish people, and which we just heard eyewitness account from Malcolm Hoenlein. We also are seeing that there are pro-Palestinian rallies being held all across the world, including right here in New York City where we live. In Australia, in one of these rallies, they chanted "Gas the Jews." Here at home in the United States, on our college campuses, but most famously at Harvard University, which we consider our best university of this entire country. At Harvard, over 30 college student groups signed on to a document which blames the Jews for the atrocities committed against the Jews. What I believe is that when you look at the fact, again, that atrocities were committed against us and we're being blamed for it, and we're seeing this kind of bloodlust cheered on in the capitals of our cities all across the Western world, what I think is happening to us is that it's a wake-up call. And I think we had a small window of historic time immediately after the Holocaust where it was considered no longer acceptable to want to kill Jews. And unfortunately, I think that window is closing. And so, my friends, because I'm one of this community, I feel like it's my responsibility to talk to you tonight about what that means if this window is closing for us. I think we need to understand, we Jews in America, that we have to make our own survival a top priority. And also, of course, standing with Israel, because that's all one and the same. Our survival is based on Israel's strength and survival, so that's all one and the same. And when Malcolm Hoenlein calls for us to stand strong with Israel, certainly we must stand strong with Israel, but we need to understand that even as American Jews, our own survival is at risk. So it's time for us to use everything in our arsenal at this point. We need to use our political leverage, we need to use our funds, we need to use our networks. We have to all get politically active. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican, whatever party you affiliate with, just get involved. Hold your elected officials accountable. I know that we all think that the Jewish community is active, and we do give, and we do participate, but it's not enough. What we're doing is not enough. We've received a big wake-up call. We need to wake up. We also are raising our children, and I admit myself that I'm guilty of the same thing. We raise our children to have the values of wanting to be successful and have a nice family and just have a nice, good life, and we'll vacation together and so on. And I'm guilty of this just as anyone else is. But our children, if we are going to wake up like we need to right now, our children need to be raised to fight. They need to be raised to fight. In Israel, thank you. We just don't have that luxury anymore of just wanting to live a nice life. It's over. That time, that window is closing on us. In Israel, the kids are raised that they're going to go into the IDF. In the United States, we don't have to send our kids into the military. At minimum, they need to get to campus and fight for themselves, okay? They just need to learn to fight. I also want to say, when I mention about using our networks, so I have some good news of things that occurred this week. As a result of what we saw at Harvard University, Bill Ackman, who is a member, yeah. Exactly, so you all know, but I'm going to go ahead and mention it. Bill Ackman, who's a very successful hedge fund manager right here in New York, he and others, leaders in the business world, decided that they're going to take it upon themselves to demand the list of the students at Harvard who signed on to this declaration. Yep. Right. So kids who think that the Jews are responsible for the atrocities committed against Jews, they're not hiring them, okay? Right, exactly. And rightfully so. And we saw this with the CEO of Sweetgreens as well. He also says he's not hiring those kids for his company. We also saw the law firm of Winston and Strawn rescind their offer. Right. They rescinded their offer to hire the NYU Law School Bar Association president, who also was blaming the Jews for the atrocities committed against the Jews. Exactly. I am raising these examples for all of us to understand that there is more that can be done. There are steps that we can take. We should not feel hopeless in this moment. We need to feel empowered. We need to think of everything and anything that's within each one of our capabilities to do. Everyone has to get involved. Everyone has different capabilities, whether you're an artist, you're a musician, you're a business leader, whatever it is. Use your capabilities, use your networks, and fight for the survival of our children and grandchildren. I also want to mention that when there are rallies that are held in person, the End Jew Hate movement has been holding rallies. For example, when CUNY recently had a speaker at their law school graduation who was spewing anti-Semitic hatred for the second year in a row, End Jew Hatred held rallies. I went. And, you know, we don't see a lot of people come. From this synagogue, I see Ari Ackerman. He makes time and he comes. We need more people to just take the time, take an hour out of your schedule and come and protest in person, because we need to show that when these anti-Semitic incidents take place, there's repercussions, that the Jews care, that we're awake, that we're tracking this, and that we're not going to tolerate it anymore. We need to stop tolerating it. And then my last message. We're gathered here in a synagogue, and ultimately, I think what we have is we have ourselves and we have Hashem. And I know all of us try to be good Jews. I know I try to be a good Jew. I'm, not preaching a moral, any kind of righteousness. Just saying that I believe we need to strengthen our Jewish identity. We need to strengthen our Jewish observance to whatever way that we each can, and really try to spread the light of Torah to everyone that you know. Invite people for Shabbat dinner. Just spread the light in some way, and know that ultimately, the Jewish people, if you study our history, they have tried over and over to annihilate us, and they have not won. They are not going to win, because Hashem is watching over us. We are Hashem's people, and we need to just stay strong, remember that, and we need to fight for ourselves. And with that, I just want to wish everyone stay strong, and Am Yisrael Chai.
Good evening. As the principal of the Rabbi Arthur Schneier Park East Day School, I have spent this week learning new things about what it means to work with children during challenging times. Their resilience, smiles, and happiness can be a beacon of hope, reminding us of the brighter future they represent. Children are indeed a source of hope and light. They bring immense joy, love, and purpose to people's lives. They inspire, teach patience, and provide opportunities for personal growth as they consistently amaze us with their curiosity, creativity, and boundless energy. Witnessing daily the growth and potential of children is both meaningful and hopeful. These young minds offer endless possibilities and the promise of a better future. Their enthusiasm and capacity to learn and adapt inspire hope and give a profound sense of purpose to those guiding and nurturing them. Please turn your attention to the Rabbi Arthur Schneier Park East Day School Choir as they sing from their hearts prayers of love and hope that remind us we are all united. May Hashem continue to protect all of his children.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise?
ישמור ויציל את חיילינו מכל צרה וצוקה ומכל נגע ומחלה וישלח ברכה ויצלחה וכתר ישועה ועטרת ניצחון. ויקוים בהם הכתוב, ויקוים בהם הכתוב. כי אדוני אלוהיכם ההולך עמכם להילחם לכם עם אויביכם להושיע אתכם ונאמר אמן.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Rabbi Schneier. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to those kids that gave me personally so much hope now that I needed so much. I prepared many things to say, but after hearing them, I need to change everything because it was really a sound of hope. It's not easy to be representing Israel today. A state that was established with one most important pledge of never again. A pledge that we failed miserably on Saturday. It shocked everyone, it shocked me, it shocked on what we are, what are we doing. It changed our world. But it didn't take me long to understand that perhaps now we have even more hope than we had before. We had a terrible year. It was not an easy year to be representing Israel whatsoever this year. But what happened on Saturday and changed everything also changed how we feel about our state. If before we had some doubts about whether it will stick together, after Saturday we are sure it will stick together. We see it, we feel it, we act by it. For the last few days, our consulate became a sort of a war room that is busy in just getting all of the phone calls and all of the emails of people who wants to help, who wants to fly to Israel tomorrow to go and enlist in the IDF. People who have very comfortable life here. They have tech companies, they work in finance, they have families, but no, they want to leave tomorrow. Not even tomorrow, today they want to leave. They want us to arrange for them a place in an airline that most of them do not fly, but thanks God we have Elal, because they cannot be here for one more minute. They have to go and defend our country that they left, but they never really left. So in the last few days, I became more hopeful. And the day goes by, and I go to more of those events, and I meet more of you, and I hear what you say and how you feel, and your commitment, I get even more hopeful. You know, we may have made a miscalculation regarding Hamas, but they miscalculated us much, much, much more. Because we are now stronger than we ever been. Our army that suffered a great hit is only getting stronger. It's getting stronger because of all of those people coming from here, all of those reservists. But not only because of that, also because we have a great friend, a great ally in the White House. Thank God for Joe Biden. Thank God for the president, who is not only giving the most pro-Israel speech I've ever heard, that anyone have ever heard of an American president, but also acts by it. We will go there to Gaza. We will go back there with our army, and we will bring each and every one of those in captivity. But not only that, those terrorists, they don't know, they opened the gate of hell. Because we will not allow this situation ever, and this time it is never again. We will bring them to justice, and we will make sure that Hamas ceases to exist. Because Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael is strong, and we will prevail. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. I feel like we all need this. We all need to do this together. I was at the rally yesterday, and I felt that way, and I'm here at home at Park East, and I feel that way, and it gives us some hope. The holiday was such an odd holiday and such a challenging holiday. It's all quite surreal. I want to briefly touch on two topics I happened to address this holiday, which to me is quite striking that they're topics I picked. I came in Shabbat morning to give a Yizkor sermon, and I spoke about the Holocaust. And I got brief, very brief, all too brief word shortly before I spoke about what's going on. I couldn't really fathom. I couldn't really digest. I couldn't digest, and I still can't digest, but it really took till Sunday night for me to start poring over the news the way we all have to get it. I didn't get it at all Saturday morning. And I spoke about the Holocaust. And to me, it's quite chilling that as I was invoking the memory of the Holocaust, we were enduring perhaps the most difficult day for our people, certainly in terms of the number of lives since the Holocaust, including actual survivors being victims, including images that we could only associate with the Holocaust. And yet, I sit in this synagogue and I think of what Jews have overcame. I think of the soaring spirit to fight against all odds, partisans, resistance, heroes, and also those who were devastated, who found resources, spiritual, human, faith to overcome the greatest challenges. And then I think the loss that we're talking about was for a few days. And of course, there's going to be a significant price going forward. But it will not be day after day because we live in a different world. We have a state of Israel. The spirit of the partisans, the ghetto resistance, all of that is channeled through an army of a sovereign state that we worked for 2,000 years. This story is going to be a very different story, except in one respect, that no matter what dark there is, there will be illumination and light and redemption at the end. The other sermon I gave was around the topic of the Yom Kippur War. 50 years after the Yom Kippur War, I think it was a topic that many touched on Yom Kippur. And for some reason, I felt the need to speak about it also on Sukkot. I can't really explain why. But it revolved around a whole story, and I'll just tell you the brief of the story, not the full version. But I think it's a critical story. It was on Sukkot during the Yom Kippur War, and the odds looked long and desperate. And Moshe Dayan instructed a group of a tank battalion, to go towards Damascus, to put immense pressure on the Syrians to try to get a ceasefire on better terms. And one group of tanks, led by a kibbutznik, a secular kibbutznik who's alive today named Rafi Noy, had to stop well into Syria because they saw Iraqi troops and they saw they were low on supplies and they needed fuel, and they spent the night there. And at about 4 a.m, Noy feels somebody shaking his leg, and he's startled, and he says, "Yes? Who are you?" And the person gives his code name, Kaftor, an army code name. And Noy says, "What do you want? Why are you waking me now?" And Kaftor says, "Listen, I need for the fellow troops who are religious, we need, it's Sukkot, we need the 4 species." Noy thought he was off his rocker. They're in Syria. They're low on supplies. They're waiting for fuel. And Kaftor needs a lulav. But instead of telling him, "Get out of here," he was silent for about 30 seconds. And Kaftor recognized that Noy didn't know what to do. And Kaftor said, "Listen, I'm going to go back to my tank. If you could get me the lulav, please wire me. Please radio me." And then Noy did something, and there's a reason why Noy tells this story every Memorial Day, because he can't explain why he did what he did. But Noy radioed back to central Israel, and he said, "Along with the fuel and along with the soldiers, also send me a carton of lulavs and etrogs." And indeed, they arrived. This story is an important story for us to retell today, because we see that Noy and Kaftor understood that the way Israel will win its wars is not just with arsenals and with tanks and with soldiers, as courageous as they are, as first-rate as they are, but it's with the spirit, with the Jewish spirit, the spirit that has guided us for millennia. It's that same spirit that we have to tap into. And you don't need to be religious or not religious, and it doesn't need to be a lulav or not a lulav. It's the ideals of the Jewish state, of the Zionist state, of recognizing what we share. We're against the backdrop of a deep divides, as we just heard from the consulate, but those divides are minimal compared to what unites us. And now we see soldiers, whether they're coming from Judea or Samaria or from the heart of Tel Aviv, they're all there. Almost 100% have shown up from the reserves. Soldiers flying in from around the world because they recognize this is the state that we've dreamt for. It's a reality, and we'll do everything to preserve it. And it's that spirit that it gives us great hope. One last footnote that I learned from the story. Kaftor said that when it came to Simchat Torah, all of the species were gone from the Daled Minim except for one, the etrog. Somebody sent me this follow-up. The etrog was with them on Simchat Torah. The etrog is the symbol of the Jewish heart. And it's the Jewish heart in Israel, here in New York, throughout the world that's going to come together and ensure our victory, spiritual and military.
Ladies and gentlemen, we heard beautiful speeches tonight. But there are times in life where there are no words. And where there are no words, we can use the music of our prayers. In a moment, we're going to conclude the program with a memorial prayer, which is even hard to imagine. To say a memorial prayer for people who died when we don't even know yet how many people have passed away. But I want to sing with you, with my dear friend and cantor Yossi Schwartz, two songs. One from Eicha that we say on Tisha B'Av, Shifchi kamayim libech. Cry out your heart in front of God. Let the tears flow in front of God. And the second, from the words of King David from the 23rd Psalm, Gam ki eleich begates al mavet. Lo irara ki ata imadi. Even if I walk through the shadow of death, I will fear not, because God is with me. Please join in, hum along. Thank you.
She rise for the memorial prayer. Hamitzei menucha nechona Betzei kanefei Hashechina B'malot Kedoshim uteorim lenishmot acheinu ואחיותינו בני ישראל, אנשי צבא, אזרחים, ילדים וילדות שנהרגו על ידי בני עוולה במדינת ישראל. בעבור שאנחנו מתפללים ביד הסגרת נשמתם בגן עדן, בגן עדן תהיה מנוחתם. לכן אלוהיכם, לכן אלוהיכם בעל רחמים יצרור החיים את נשמתם. אדוני הוא נחלתם. וינוחו בשלום על משכבם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבם, ונאמר Amen.
Please remain standing. As the director of the Hebrew School at Park East Synagogue, I echo the words of Principal Debbie Rocklin that this past week gave new meaning to Jewish education and what it means. I want to remind everybody here that our senior rabbi is a Holocaust survivor. But our Holocaust survivor went on, and he lived a beautiful life over here in America. Because he's a proud Jew. Now, many of us here are asking, what can we do? What can I do? Well, I say to everybody here on the Upper East Side, this Friday night, take your Shabbat candles and put them in the window. Show the entire Manhattan that you are a proud Jew. You are Jewish, you are Jewish, you are Jewish. Take an Israeli flag, put it in your window, light your Shabbat candles, and show the entire Upper East Side that you are a proud Jew. Because Am Yisrael, what do we say? Am Yisrael? I can't hear you. Am Yisrael? Thank you everybody for coming. Thank you everybody for coming. Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you everybody for coming.